said, my name's Stephen Doyle. I'm the Operations Development Leader at British Engineering Services. What I'd like to talk through today really is the journey that we've been on as an organisation, as British Engineering Services, and the help and support that Fastly and Smart FLS has given us over those last 6 or so years that we've been using their product. I'll go through a little bit of history about who we are, about us, but I'll spend most of my time focusing on the actual innovation and technology side that FLS have been able to provide us through their Visitour system. So a little bit about us first. British Engineering Services Group, as we've now become over the last 6 years, we've taken on some additional companies, Lantai, AWL, UK Road Tanker Inspection Limited, PCMS, all of which are subsidiary companies of ourselves now. So it's all focused on that engineering inspections. In summary, if there's a piece of equipment in a building or out in a field somewhere that either a member of public or a member of an organisation will be nearby or used, it needs to be checked to make sure that it's safe to be used, to make sure that it's not going to blow up, whether that's a small coffee boiler somewhere in a cafe or a nuclear power station. Our engineer surveyors are highly trained. They go out there and double check to make sure that everything's all right. A bit like an MOT for your car, our engineer surveyors are the people who check that, yes, it meets UK regulation and is fine to be used. As an organisation, we have 750 people in total, of which 450 are actual field force engineers out in the field carrying out those inspections. We have a 96% retention rate amongst our customers, 98% amongst our key account customers. So what that means is once a business decides to come to us, they normally stick around, and that's through the service that we're able to offer and that consistency that we're able to offer, which I'll talk about in a moment, through the tools thanks to FLS and Fastly and Smart's Visitour system. We have got 30,000 customers, which means that it's a very diverse set that we can look after. We are independent, and that's probably part of the journey why we've been able to offer the level of service that we are. Traditionally, engineer inspection companies are affiliated and attached to an insurance company. We were ourselves originally. We're part of Royal Sun Alliance, RSA, and then around 6.5 years ago, we were carved out and became independent, which means that we've been able to focus on the engineering inspection side of things. So it is everything we do. It's our 100% focus, and it means that we can help achieve our core goal of making Britain as safer places as possible. What we do have is a lot of accreditation. We're proud to be British Engineering Services. To us, that stands for the highest quality assessments, rigorous inspections, and detailed reporting with no compromise ever. We can only do that if we make sure we get the right people in the right place at the right time with the right set of skills to do those inspections. And that's where the central planning function that I'm going to focus on talking about really comes into its own and really helps us understand to do that. We're award winning because of that planning approach. We've really been able to turn around our business and make sure that planning is at the heart of every decision we make. Bernie mentioned in the intro whether that's linking in with our pricing team, our customer services team, our operations team, understanding who our people are, where our people are, and what service they can offer obviously dictates everything that we're able to do, which is really important. We do offer a sector expertise. We're across many sectors, utilities companies, power companies, etc. We see an awful lot of kit, and there are some similarities between different sites. There's some vast differences. Knowing what those differences are is really important to be able to make sure that we offer the right inspection to the right people and getting that right level of detail. You can see just how diverse some of our customer base is. There's a wide range of customers in there, from Thames Water, SSE, RNLI lifeboats, whatever it may be. Each one has a unique way of being able to need to service them, whether that's a store, making sure that we're there before the store opens, or different opening hours of various things. So it's really important to get to know those customers as if they're one of your own, and understand the ethos behind each one. And that's something that we focus on trying to do. And using the tool like Visitour through FLS, we're able to record a lot of that information to make sure that when an engineer surveyor turns up on site, he's aware of exactly who that customer is, what's important to them, and how we need to interact with them, which is really important. Next, I wanted to focus a little bit on how we help our customers and the various services we offer. I think setting this scene will be important when I actually come on to the approach that we've taken in partnership with FLS, to really just understand why it's so important what we do. So we offer three main services of testing, inspection, and certification. That testing side of things, it could be checking a weld procedure is carried out properly through our non-destructive testing labs that we have across the country, checking the materials used on a construction is the right type, and understanding everything that goes into it. The inspection one is probably the core part of the business, the main set of things that we do. And that can be, as you see on the screen there, machinery, electrical, pressure, LEV. You can see on the picture a wind turbine. Having an engineer going up a wind turbine has a different set of challenges to an engineer turning up in a care home to inspect a stair lift. So understanding the type of needs, what skills the engineer needs to have, being able to record that and actually make sure we send the right engineer to the right place is so important. And that's through central planning, we're able to achieve that. And then the certification side of things, that can be third-party approvals, management study audits. If you're developing or designing a new piece of equipment, to make sure it gets that stamp of approval to say it meets all regulatory requirements, that's where we can come in and check that out right at the design, so the life cycle of any product. So it's understanding that flexibility, and different customers have different needs. So if it's a small, medium company, we've introduced an online booking system because we know where our work is and we're able to plan it centrally using FLS. We're now able to let customers book their own inspections, saving valuable time of our resource team and the central planning team. Having diary managed booking system, I'll come on to how it used to be in the past, but just that common approach of being able to see all engineers' diaries in one place. Tailored products to understand what's their small requirements, understanding that are there common themes across a garage might have an air receiver, some lifting tables where a utility company might have some concrete digesters, they might have stop taps that need to be inspected, all those different ones that we can pick up. But then there's also some of the complex customers with maybe sites right across the country. Do we have a bespoke inspection booking process for them? So we'll send them a spreadsheet every week of all their upcoming inspections within the next 28 days, the date, the time, the name of the engineer who's coming up, their phone number so they can liaise with them. Just being able to keep that communication level going. Some sites might need to have a fixed engineer where it's the same engineer every time because of a site induction, security requirements, because they know the in-depth knowledge of that individual site, and we can arrange that as well. And FLS is something that helps us do that. We also are able to look at a long-range plan. So rather than just focusing on what does next week look like, we can see where are our stock gaps, where have we got a recruitment needs coming up in the future. Being able to see all that work in one place and visualize it on a map really helps us and helps us make those decisions. And that key account management as well, of what are the noise coming out of customers, what are the things that we need to drive and improve, how can we feed that into the system to stop any issues happening again in the future. And we've been able to do all of that and achieve where we are now because of that investment in our business. So why diary management and why FLS? For us, it was all about trying to get the right engineer in the right place at the right time with the right set of skills. FLS is brilliant and Visitour is brilliant. It uses TomTom data to look at what's the average speed of every road junction for every half hour of every day. So we know how long it takes to get from one site to another. We know where the engineers start, we know where the engineers need to finish, and then we know where the work is. We're also able to understand, because we've seen this equipment for the last 150 years, how long does it take to inspect an air receiver? Is it 28 minutes? Is it 55 minutes? How long does it take to inspect a passenger lift or a concrete digester? We've got all that information, so we know where the engineers are, we know the speed from one site to the next, and then we know how much time it takes on site. So we can really make an accurate plan and put the right engineer in the right place, reducing travel, reducing the stress of being behind the wheel, especially in these winter months up in Scotland when it's getting a bit icier in places, looking after those engineers to make sure that they can spend more time in front of the equipment and less time behind the steering wheel. Also being aware of things happen on the day as well. If an engineer calls in sick or if they've been delayed on another site, how can we move that work around to another engineer as quickly as possible without being stuck trying to phone engineers who are already out on jobs and maybe not able to pick the phone up, and having that global view of all the different diaries. So often it's trying to break this down, and it may sound an easy process, and well, surely anyone with Google Maps could do that. And I know my patch, I'm able to plan things quite accurately, but a little challenge for some of our dispatchers, some of our planning team, is trying to arrange 15 inspection appointments between 3 engineer surveyors. Not too hard. Sounds easy, doesn't it? 15 inspections across 3 engineer surveyors, 5 each, can't be too bad. There's actually 14,250,606 possibilities for those inspections. So what on the face of it sounds an easy prospect, those 14 million different combinations each mean a different potential mileage, different potential amount of time on the road, a different engineer turning up at each one. What time of day they need to turn up, is that important to the customer or not? So it's really important to make sure, how do we choose the best one? And that consistency each time, and being able to feed that into one central system is really key for us. I mentioned we're an established engineering inspection company. When I joined, we weren't just an engineering inspection company. It was part of that larger organization, but 6.5 years ago, we became independent, which was brilliant. It's now core business. It's enabled us to focus on improvement and development. And diary management was probably the first thing that we brought in. If I can go back in time a little bit, so I've mentioned now how great we are now, and it's a wonderful success story, but it wasn't like that on day one. So 6 years ago, I came in, and there was a bit of a devolved approach to it. So we had 450 engineers all plan their own work in 450 different ways. So 450 engineers all responsible for their own customers, all treating their customers differently. And how do we deliver the highest quality inspection on time every time if you've got 450 different priorities? I'd have conversations with engineers, and I'd ask them, how do you know which is the next best customer to do, or which is the most important one to do next? And one engineer told me that he had a filing cabinet, and he used to go out, do the inspection, write up the report, and put a copy of it at the back of his filing cabinet. Whenever that came to the front, that was time to go and do that inspection again. Which is okay if they're the only inspections he ever has to do. We never win any new business, we never lose any business. But in our industry, different inspections have different frequencies as well. So a passenger lift that people go in needs to be inspected every 6 months, where a coffee boiler needs to be inspected once a year. If there's multiple items on those sites, what was one inspection and one visit to complete those items last time, next time around might be 2 visits. And again, you end up missing that. Through no fault of their own, an engineer surveyor might have, because of the frequency of the work, 30 days worth of work now due in a month when there's only 20 working days. What would happen to those other 10 days worth of work? They become overdue and be at risk, which is why, as I say, an overdue inspection is a common theme in our industry, in that common parlance. So what we needed to do is try and understand with the engineers, how can we make this better for you? How can we try and get to the approach of being able to share that workload out? And they're very territorial about it. They felt that this is their patch. Work was traditionally allocated to them on a postcode basis. So if I'm in Liverpool, I'd have all the L postcodes. If someone else is in Manchester, they'd have all the M postcodes, and so on and so on. And often they wouldn't go past page 96 of the A to Z. They'd have their own little patch of work, go out and do all their inspections. Any new business that came in would be allocated to them because they're in that postcode. It wasn't always easy to understand, have we got too much work in one area? Is there more work that one engineer can do? Those recruitment decisions took a long time to do. I already mentioned that it takes 16 weeks to train an engineer up. When they then go out in the field, they're not 100% efficient to begin with. Again, it takes even longer. So you could lose an engineer survey within a matter of weeks or months, but then it'd take 9 months before you get a fully functioning engineer in that area. In the meantime, what happens to their work? Equally, you could win some new business, and it starts next week. How do you make sure you've got that capacity? How do you make sure that you've got the right group of people to be able to pick all that up? Surveyors used to go out to do their inspections and then write their notes up whilst they're in front of the equipment in a little notebook. Contemporaneous notes, they used to call it. So of the moment, whilst they're there, writing it up, and then they go home and type up the report at the end of the week. They had 5 days to submit the report, but what that meant was as a central function, we weren't able to understand what our risk is. We couldn't report to a customer or a company at any one time. How are your inspections as of today? Which ones are safe? Which ones aren't? Ultimately, we couldn't count the till at the end of the day. So we understood that we needed to try and remove some of the admin from the engineers, make it a little bit easier. And that's where that diary management function came in. Could we take the purely admin of phone up a customer to say, can we come in next week? Can we come in 2 weeks' time to do your inspection? So we looked at a number of different organizations, and FLS were the ones that stood out no end, just because of the flexibility, the control, the functions of their Visitour system that we were able to do. It was really good. They let us do a try before you buy. So we gave them a set of data of our inspections that we'd carried out in the previous couple of months. They put it through their system and said, this is how many visits it would have been, this is the mileage we would have been able to do it, this is the total number of hours driving, total number of hours the inspections would have completed. We compared that to our actual results, and it was shocking to see just how much wasted time we were having, the amount of admin time, the amount of travel time, and that we were able to reduce just by having this system. So we snapped it up, started a small group of one team in one area, and found some really good results. So we looked at one of our central teams, Team CO8, and we're looking at, are we using FLS and Visitour accurately? Forgive the amount of detail on this slide, but just to give you a quick overview. This is a summary of by weeks of the year at the bottom, going across week 36 up to this year in particular, 53 weeks. Purple means that inspections were planned in or still planned in to be overdue at the end of each week. So by the end of the year, we'd still have a level of overdue inspection in days. Blue means we were planning to do the inspection before the due date. Red means we were doing it on the due date, and green means it was an overdue inspection that we were actually planning to do each time. So you can see, even with diary management, even all the things that were in there, the limitations that we were setting ourselves at this point in time, there were still overdue inspections in place. So being able to speak to the engineers and actually say, could we make one little change of, rather than trying to just remove that admin, can we remove all those borders and all those hard boundaries and actually enable you to help each other? We were able to see a real difference in it. So removing districts meant that come week 44, the system was saying we'd have 0 overdues. So that's not too bad. That was in theory. In reality, it was actually week 46 that we cleared overdues within this team. And this was actually the first team CO8 to get 0 overdues out of all our teams across the country. The buzz they got as a group of engineers to be able to say they were the ones who did it, on Yammer, on LinkedIn, all the places they were engaging, was brilliant. And it spread across the country. Their enthusiasm was key to helping this be a success and rolling out with other engineers. We actually used them to be advocates for us across the other engineers and show them, look how good this is, buy into, help us, and it can work. As I say, we thought we've cracked it. We know what we're doing. It's brilliant. What we learned was even using a system like Visitour through FLS, it can't work miracles. If you look at the picture on the graph here, on the slide here, you'll see all the stars are the work in this particular team, NO5, one of our northern teams. All of the stars, the work that needs to be done, and the blue dots are where the engineer surveyors lived in that team. Even using the best planning system in the world, there's no way we could get an engineer over from Newcastle or Sunderland to Lancaster, complete a 6-hour inspection, and then get home in an 8-hour day. It's just impossible. Letting that kind of be known to the engineers of these are the types of issues we need to be able to see, understanding that it's not just about technology, but it's about that organization and culture within the business that helps us. Are there any annoyances that you have as an engineer surveyor workforce? Do you hate the fact that you're always having to travel over to Lancaster and stay over to pick up these inspections? It can help us shape the business. So we've been able to use this type of stuff to influence our recruitment team. So actually, we need to hire a surveyor in Lancaster, look at all the work we could pick up, and that's exactly what we've been able to do. When we held these sessions and these face-to-face meetings with the engineers, one of the exercises we did to them was say, here are 20 jobs, 20 inspections that need to take place. Using the current business priorities as you know them, what order would you do them in? go away, work in a little group and just decide what order do you want to put them in. Every table came back with a different order. No two groups could agree. And that was a really powerful message for us to help get this across, to say there's thousands of years worth of experience in those teams, hundreds of years worth of experience combined. If they couldn't agree amongst themselves the order they do the inspections in, they're never going to agree with the system. And that's okay. There's no right or wrong, but it's the level of consistency that we're looking for. So if you're in the Northeast, you're going to get the same level of consistency as the Southwest. The feedback that we get from engineers now is brilliant. So it's all about the reduced stress, not getting 5 missed calls when they're coming out of a building, they suddenly get a signal. I mentioned before, not being in a lift shaft with a torch in the mouth and the phone buzzing, they're trying to look at the bottom of a lift whilst also deal with another customer saying, when you come to do my inspection, where are you? All that's gone, all that's a central function now, all that information feeds into our central planning team, who can have those conversations with the customers, plan the right inspection, and the engineer can check their diary and see where they are. They can switch off when they get home. We've brought in mobile reporting as well, so the engineer can report as they go along whilst they're in front of the equipment, because they've got all that information that they need, everything that's key to that customer within the FLS system. They can just carry on and do that. I need to be honest and say it was a painful process to go through, to reassure all the engineers that we're not devaluing their role. We're instead trying to help them do what they love to do, what they're specialists in doing. They all took pride in the fact that they were highly qualified, highly experienced engineer surveyors, and they didn't want someone, our head office in Manchester, and there were a few of them. I don't want some girl in Manchester who's been with the business a month telling me what to do. I don't want some lad from Liverpool who thinks he knows it all telling me what to do. But it was trying to explain to them that they are highly qualified and they are highly experienced. But let's focus on actually being in front of the equipment, which is the part of the job they love. And we'd explain to them that a doctor or a surgeon doesn't plan their own work. They spend the time focusing on the operation. Most successful F1 drivers always talk about being part of a team and everyone working together for that common goal. So finding that true purpose of what is it we're trying to achieve. Our purpose isn't to be the best of a bad bunch, but to deliver the highest quality inspection on time, every time. And that's where FLS have really been able to help us achieve it. Because we've done that now, and because we've got FLS, and because we've been able to plan that in, we've got a much better ability to forecast and look at work. So on this little map of the country, the blue dot is one of our customers' workload that we're able to put into the system. Whenever we're about to win new business, we'll say, can we see your planned schedule, all the work that's due, where it is, put it in and compare it against our engineers. The sharp-eyed view of viewability, we've now got an orange dot where the engineer lives over in Lancaster as well. So those recruitment decisions really have come into their own. And we can put that in and do a long-range capacity plan. Being able to say, okay, out of our 15 teams, for each month, how many working days worth of work has each engineer got each day? So green means we've got just the right amount, blue means we've got some capacity, red means there's too much work for that person to do on average in that team in that month. By being able to see that, we can suddenly start making some planning decisions. So do we increase the radius of the teams nearby so they can help out and share that? Do we offer overtime in that area? Do we need some training in certain modules? January is the month we always hold our team meetings, so we deliberately don't have work due in that time. We plan all the work around it to make sure that we can understand and set the scene for the year ahead. That helps us just model that workload to ensure that we've got the right profile, to ensure that capacity is right. Helps us be in that market-leading planning system, you know, the award-winning ones that we talk about, but that software to handle real-time events. You might have an 18-month plan where everything works perfectly, but the second one customer says, I can't do that date anymore, can you do a different date? Or the second one engineer phones in sick and you need to send someone else out because it's urgent, it needs to be done that day. That's where you need something robust and something as flexible and agile as FLS and Visitour, which really helped us just become consistent to no end and give us that market leader approach.